Hi, my name is Lori Listerman, and I am going to start out with students with learning disabilities. 80% of students with learning disabilities experience reading challenges, math challenges, memory challenges. It can range from mild to severe. They can have depression, they can have anxiety. Some of the causes can be as simple as genetic or environmental. We need to remember, and students with learning disabilities will benefit and can benefit from receiving instruction in tiers 2 and 3 in many academic subjects. We need to make sure that we align the student's skill level with an appropriate intervention. ADHD. ADHD is the most common neurodevelopmental disorder of childhood. Children diagnosed with ADHD has changed over the years. In 2003, we saw 7.8% of children diagnosed. In 2007, we saw 9.5%. 2011, we saw 11%, and the numbers just keep growing and growing. Treatment, 31.7% of children with ADHD receive not only the medication, but they receive behavioral treatment. 30.3% only receive the medication, and 14.9% only undergo behavioral treatment only. Some of the symptoms that you'll see of ADHD is inattentive, hyperactivity, they're distracted, they're disorganized, they don't watch the time, they're impulsive, they have difficulty focusing on tasks, controlling their attention. ADHD can limit a person's ability to study or work. They could daydream, they're distracted. And what's interesting is adults and children both tend to experience the same symptoms of ADHD. When we talk about the intellectual disability that students can have, some of the conditions are Down syndrome or autism, and both of those affect the memory. They often have impairments in memory, such as short-term memory, long-term memory, working memory. Their impairments create difficulties in reading, math, and many other academic areas. There is no single cause for this, and educational factors, the availability of educational supports that promote development of adaptive skills seem to work. I like to focus on autism because I have a son, an adult son who has autism. We've got to remember that autism is a developmental disability that affects verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. Generally, it's evident before the age of 3 and adversely affects a student's educational performance, which I have seen personally. Some of the behaviors that we see: repetitive speech. They like to hand flap. They like to have an interaction with one certain object. They are focused on a routine. And if that routine alters, that can cause a meltdown. They could be fixated on one thing, such as a movie, the lines out of a movie. Could be a bus schedule, something simple like that. Many students with autism like to spin objects, and their language development is delayed. They can repeat what other people say, echo what other people say. They can speak through their gestures, their facial expressions, their behaviors, or even music. And their IQ could range, have all different levels. IQ could be the predator of if it's severe or if it's high. And multiple disabilities, and those with traumatic brain injury. Most of these students have significant impairments in intellectual functioning, meaning that they would need more intensive support for completing cognitive task, which includes making decisions, solving problems, but not all students have impairments in intellectual functioning. Some can be gifted. We need to identify what their needs are related to cognitive tasks and to individualize instruction based on those needs. Some of those needs can be as simple as self-care needs, eating, dressing, going to the bathroom. Most will need motor support. As far as motor physical support, they would need that, whether it's from the teacher, it can be from a para. These students also have a increased risk for problems in the building, close friendships, solving social problems, recognizing emotions. These injuries that they received can be mild, they can be moderate, they could be severe, and can be caused from a fall, an automobile accident, something like that. Sometimes it's unknown. What can we do with these students? We can use assistive technology if needed to help them create independence, to help give them self-direction. And this can be used not only in the classroom, but in their daily lives as well. Students with hearing impairments. The most recent data from the U.S. Department of Education states that approximately 65,000 students who are deaf or hard of hearing are served under IDEA in public schools. Most of these students can have hearing aids. They could have a cochlear implant. Some of these students can sign using the American Sign Language. And students in general ed rooms who uses the American Sign Language typically need to have an interpreter in there to relay information that's spoken by the teachers or the other students. Teachers need to realize too that they need to be facing the student when they're talking or when they're teaching, and when they're writing on the smart board, not to have their back turned towards them, because quite a few of them are lip readers, and so they need to see the face and the lips as the teacher is talking. Visual impairments. Students can have low vision, they can be functionally blind, or they could be totally blind. And we need to make sure that our classrooms are safe and the environment is safe for our students who are visually impaired. We need to encourage our students to explore the environment that they're in, but it also needs to be safe. We need to make sure that we provide additional supports in the general education classroom. So we need to make sure that we make close partnerships with the general educator, with parents, with other professionals that are involved in the student's education, to make sure that the student is being taken care of and it is a safe environment for that student. The materials may be adapted for that student. Some accommodations if the student is learning Braille, so the materials could be in Braille. A student is giving real coins in a math lesson instead of a paper or a visual picture with the coins. The student can actually touch them, feel them, know the difference between a penny, a dime, a nickel, and so forth. Those students with low vision can use devices such as glasses, telescopes, magnifying lenses, may need large print books. These are all great and different accommodations that students might need. Students who are gifted and talented, we need to make sure that these students feel free to explore, to take risks, feel safe. We need to create an environment that is an effective learning community, and differentiate instruction by content, by process, by interests, and by learning profiles. And as a teacher, we need to help promote their creativity by fostering creative attitudes, improving student understanding, and so forth.